Does that work? I'm just doing that because the music ended with just a few seconds to go. One, boom. And then we go to this scene anyway. All right. Welcome everyone to today's shows. I am streaming on 5 platforms from Restream and 3 platforms from the YoloBox. So it's 8 different streams I have going from this location. Okay, technically it's only 2 streams from this location and it's being rebroadcast in the cloud. There we go, that looks a little better. The key didn't look so great there. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Let me get rid of this lower third. And if you are new to the show, please be aware that I have 4 video mixers in front of me. And the show that you're watching on the main channel, the Restream show, with the purple background, not with the map. Oh, I think somebody actually chimed in because it looks like I have a map there. That is being handled by Restream. This is an affiliate link. So if you like the fact the viewer comments from 5 different platforms or 4 different platforms, because it's Facebook twice, are being shown, and the graphics and got this cool animation and everything, this is all handled with Restream. So you can use the QR code here or type in bit.ly/ST for StreamTek-Restream and use that. You can sign up for an account, check it out for free, and if you like what you see, then you can sign up. So that's what I'm using to produce the show that you see on, well, okay, they're both on the Restream channel, but the main show. Also, I'm going to bring up another QR code. There's a second stream going on. There's an in-show live stream that is happening on the YoloBox. So as part of that, I have a link right here. If you type in these alphanumeric, or actually it's just alphabet. If you type in these letters into YouTube, it'll find the stream. Or if you just go to the YouTube channel and that you might already be watching and look for the other live stream, the in-show live stream. Or if you're watching on some other platform, you can shine your phone at this QR code or point your phone. I'll get the words right. And that will take you to the YouTube in-show live stream where you can comment. Let's go to my comments. You can comment, hello from Germany. Yes, Wolfgang is already there. Very smart man. Very, very smart man. And he has already chimed in. And I can show you that. This is the, this is what, where does it put the program out there? So this, okay, it's going to be reversed because I reversed it for the main show. This right here is the output of the YoloBox Extreme with the new map thingy. And using that QR code, this is why I've got multiple switches going on. I've got Restream to handle your comments. I've got the Director Mini handling this picture-in-picture, and then I've got the YoloBox doing that thing in the picture-in-picture. So if you think it gets confusing on a normal show, try switching things on 4 different switches at the same time. So today we're going to be looking at the YoloBox Extreme 2.5 updates, which I have lined up over here, and we're going to be talking about those. The key one being that I wanted to help me test is you go to the secondary channel and you say hello from, and then on that map it'll actually supposed to put a dot. Now I said hello from Texas. I said hello from Dallas, and apparently it doesn't know where Dallas is. Oh, there we go. We just got London. Hello from London. Look at that. And just so you can see what's going on my screen, I have that as well. You can look at this, and so you can see I've got a picture-in-picture set up, and this is all my cameras I got set up. And then as people say hello from, it's supposed to put a little dot on their little location. So you can see that I've got 2 dots, Germany and London. So apparently, Moshito Films, thank you for saying hello from Limpopo province in South Africa. I think if you just said South Africa, that might work. So try that. And I am using my main microphone on my main camera in both shows because I have my main camera feeding all the switchers, all of them. So this is what this is going on here. And when the London came up, it's supposed to zoom into London, and I did not see that happen. So I'm going to leave that up for a second. See if somebody, Mike Felton, thank you very much for chiming in from London. I want to see if somebody else wants to chime in, or somebody who has chimed in. You could actually say hello from and pick a different place, and it should just go there. I know you're all 20 seconds behind me, so that is what we're sort of counting on, is your involvement in today's show. This is a live show. You are here, I am here, we are both here together. I am not AI generated. There's no AI anything in my shows. So if you ask a question, I can give you 30 years of experience. Hello from Saarbrücken. Well, you still have a dot, but I don't think it moved. So the point with the map is it's supposed to zoom to wherever the person says hello from. And you can see over here, there's no Dallas. So apparently it doesn't know Dallas. I have to say hello from Texas, I guess. And in order for me to do that, I'd have to call up. Well, I'm not going to do it. You all can do it. It's all on you. But we're going to be looking at the features that have been added to the Extreme with the 2.5 update, and also give a general overview to the Extreme if you haven't already purchased one. And so for some people this might be a little redundant. For other people this would be kind of interesting. And South Africa, you have to say hello from Machito Films. You have to say hello from and then the location. So thank you for trying that. And as far as I know, it didn't zoom. And this is what it's supposed to be. When this was originally created by Aaron Parecki for his channel, and I think it is really an awesome way to involve the audience, especially in like a live pre-show. So you could have like content over here and have that, and as people chime in around the world, they can have the map. Look, see, I saw 2 more pop up, and it did not zoom. So I think the zoom feature is really, really key. So yes, it's nice that it's popping up on the map. So yes, hello from South Africa and hello from Greece. So both of those popped up at the same time. The map is working, the map is updating, and you can see, this is what I'm seeing over here, and I can scroll back and forth. It's not showing you my finger touch. Hello from South Africa, hello from Greece, London, Germany, and there's my hello from Dallas at the top, which it didn't take for whatever reason, so Dallas is not being represented. Hey Kirk, go over there, put in Dallas. So that is the map, and as I was saying, I think the map is a great way, especially pre-show or intermission or things like that, to really allow the audience to see where everybody's watching from. And I think visually, graphically, this is really cool. And I think the map is kind of okay. I think Greenland is actually a lot smaller than that. So, some liberties taken with the map. But overall, I think this is really cool. And that's one of the key features I wanted your help with, since I can't necessarily do all of that myself. So thank you all very much for helping me with that. Just so you all know, if you're watching this live stream after the actual live, that's not going to work. So, and once again, I am producing this with Restream. You can try it out right there, bit.ly/StRestream. Thank you all for trying it out. And if you use my affiliate link, I think I make 50 cents. So that's only after you sign up and only after several months that you stayed a customer. I might make 50 cents. But I have been using Restream for almost 2 full years and to do all these shows. So I definitely believe in this tool. So if you want to try it out for yours, feel free. If it doesn't work for you, no skin off anybody's back. Let me go over to the main part of the show and say hello to everyone. And as always, welcome to everyone to today's show. We are definitely going to be talking about the YoloBox Extreme 2.5 and just the YoloBox Extreme in general, for those who don't understand YoloBox or what this is, but I think most of my regular audience does. The second thing is let me know where you're watching from on this channel too. Because that really does help. Well, let me switch the other one. There we go. That really does help me see in this show. And we can scroll through here. What do we have? Limping Cheng. Hello from, unfortunately, it didn't translate. But hello. Thank you for watching, Limping Cheng. And we have Pete Maz Photo in Chicago, Illinois. We have Kev Broomfield in Lexington, Kentucky. We have Eric in the Netherlands. Thank you very much for being there again. We have Andreas from Corfu, Greece. Definitely got to come visit you sometime. Next time I get a trip in Europe, hey, let's see if I can come by and visit. I've never been to Greece. So, you know, let's see what we can do. Hello from the desert of LaSalle, Illinois. You want desert? Come down to Texas. It's hot. Hot. Pete Maz Photo says, hi, Mike. Hi, Pete. Strong Peeps in Trenton, New Jersey. I used to live in Philly, right down the street, right down 95. Kirk Riley is in Texas. Holger says, hello. Hi there. Germany salutes you, and I salute you right back. Hello from Dallas, Texas. Trenton, New Jersey. Ooh, Louisville. I hope I'm saying that right, because some say Louisville. I say Louisville. So let me know if I'm saying that correctly. So getting somebody from Louisville to let me know if I'm saying it correctly. Busaf, I guess, from Annapolis, Maryland. And Mr. Mike Felton from London. Let's see. We also got Deval. Yeah, Deval Video from Arlington, Massachusetts, 6 miles from Boston. Love using my stream for my more than 40 graduation live streams this season. That's a lot of graduations. I don't know how you cram them all in because they all seem to happen right around the same time. So you must be very, very, very busy. And Kilobyte, cool name. 808, hello from Arizona. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And as always, I'll be talking about the Extreme, but this is a live show. If you have a question about something else you want to throw it in, I can go there. We can try it out. We can, do it. Hey, and did you all see the news about the new Magewell director? Ooh, Magewell Director Plus, also known as the OBSBot 2. But now it's officially released, so we know the specifications, at least from the OBSBot side. I don't know if, at least from the Magewell side. Now, OBSBot, Magewell is the OEM, and OBSBot uses the hardware, but then they can customize the software. So the OBSBot actual deliverable tablet likely will be different from the Magewell in things that it can do. And this goes back to the original Talent and the original Magewell Director. Same hardware, but different software. In that, on the Magewell, you can take in full NDI. You couldn't do that on the OBSBot. On the Magewell, you could do bonding, Speedify bonding in the tablet. Not available on the OBSBot. On the Magewell, what was the other thing? You had the app. So you had the app to do cell phone cameras, and that was not available on the OBSBot. But the OBSBot had the ability to tweak the interface for all the OBSBot cameras and camera controls and things like that. But when I've gone through and I've shown you some of the things, if you go back a couple weeks, we did a show about that. And I was able to access most all of the OBSBot camera features, AI tracking and things like that on the Director. So I expected to be more differentiation, but we shall see what happens. But I digress a little bit. Yes, again, I know today's about the YoloBox, but that was big news as of yesterday. So I know people who are in the all-in-one live streaming space, talk about these things. And today we will be talking about this box right here. This is the YoloBox Extreme. You can see I've got a USB camera, I've got my YoloDeck. I've got the YoloDeck plugged in. I'm actually a big fan of the YoloDeck. It's, it's not super snappy. Sometimes, when I say lower third, I got to like push and hold it a little bit. But as a wired interface, I like it because it lets me You know, I don't have to power it separately. I don't have to worry about charging it. I don't have to worry about a network connection. I don't have to worry about, like, if you want to do StreamTek Companion, the StreamTek has to be plugged into a laptop or another computer, or you have to buy the little networking interface. It just, to me, that's a little cumbersome. More capable, yes, but honestly, the features that YOLO is going to make available to the StreamTek are going to be the same features that you're going to find here. So now, honestly, you can have multiple StreamTeks and you can just set up all kinds of things, you know, scoreboard on one StreamTek and remote guest features and cameras and titles on another one and another one. So you can have them all lined up to do different things. Whereas as far as I know, I don't have another YoloDeck to plug in. You can only plug in one YoloDeck and it only recognizes one YoloDeck. So, but I like the YoloDeck. I think, you know, good idea. I said it'd be nice to do a Bluetooth remote. And if you've seen my video, this is a $20 Bluetooth wireless remote that I use to control the Director Mini that I'm using to produce the show. So I can switch like that. I can go to the overhead shot. I can go back to me. I can bring in my title and say, hello, my name is Anthony Brokus. I am the chief gearhead here at StreamTek. And that is an animated title. That's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. That's one of the features they advertised for the YoloBox Extreme, animated titles. Now, I can do another title and I can bring it in and bring it out and bring it in and bring it out. But this is an animated, and by animated, I mean it animates on, it builds on, and then without any hands, it builds off or unbuilds, debuilds. You let me know. That is an animated title, and YOLO has promoted animated titles for the YoloBox Extreme. We will check that out, as well as many of the other features. So stick tuned, but remember, if you have other questions, throw them in the comments. If you're here live, this is your opportunity to throw them in the comments. And if you haven't already, let me know where you're watching from. So let me scroll down. It says I don't have any new ones. Oh, we do have new comments. It's not let me know that I have them. Mike Sabatini says, hoping for a larger screen on the Magewell Plus. Ditto. But I can understand the concept in that you don't, you know, the Magewell, I guess they're really focusing on a portable device that could go on top of a camera. Whereas now that I have this 11-inch OLED screen with a big battery in it and all these cables, and once you hook in a bunch of cables and all this wires hanging off the back, this is not a camera top device. This is a tabletop device, or hanging, you know, with a magic arm and the cage underneath a tripod or something like that. This has moved, you know, off the camera, whereas I think Magewell is still kind of positioning itself as an on-camera device. So that's why they may not have gone with the larger screen. University graduation began a few weeks ago, and grammar school graduates for me end June 19th. So you still got a couple weeks to go. Good luck with that. Not a native, but there's lots of arguments how to say it. Okay, I'm going to continue with Louisville. Big smile there. All right. Any other questions? No more questions. And again, throw questions in at any time. Throw them in at any time. I've got it right in front of me on Restream, so you can throw them in at any time. So for those who are new to the YoloBox, the YoloBox is what we call an all-in-one switcher. This, I can't exit it right now because I'm actually in show. This is all your inputs. This is our 2 different streams running on YouTube. Yes, should be. You only have the current picture on Facebook, on YouTube. There's only the map. Oh, no, should be. I've switched it. You can see me switching it. He says only the map is on YouTube, but I have switched it to the multi-view, or I could just switch it to me. So yes, I am running 2 different streams at the same time. The YoloBox is actually streaming from itself. This is an all-in-one streaming switcher. In that, you can bring in cameras, you can create graphics, which I have, you can mix audio, which I'm doing, You can record, you can stream, which is I'm doing. This is just settings. You can do scoreboards. You can do instant replay. You can do automatic camera switching. You can bring in up to 5 remote guests calling in from a phone or a laptop browser. You can handle viewer comments from all of the destinations that you are multicasting from. And that is a key thing as well. You send one stream from the YoloBox, and included for free is 3 destination multicasting. So this YoloBox is going to my YouTube channel, my Facebook channel, supposedly, I couldn't find it when I pre the show, and onto Twitch. And unfortunately, my normal Twitch viewer has not chimed in. So maybe he's not watching. So this is going automatically. You can see I've got the viewer map going up there. Auto trigger. Maybe that's what I need. Auto trigger? Oh, I don't want them to just come up into the screen automatically. No, I like to bring things in manually. Yeah, we're not going to do that. So this is the new features as part of the comments, that we have the viewer map. I have the viewer map on. So that is creating this, and this is supposed to be populating with all of the people that are being added, although since I last chimed in, hello from the Netherlands, hello from South Africa. If you go to the second stream and say hello from in the comment and then the location, it is supposed to put a dot of your logo or image on that location. It's actually supposed to, like normally when Aaron Parecki does it, it actually zooms into that location, adds the dot, and then zooms back out to really highlight it. And I think that's really cool. Wolfgang says, on one of your YouTube streams, I now see the Sony ZV-1 overlay. Yes, that's the secondary stream. I should probably create a graphic at the top that says secondary stream. I can do that. So let's come over here and I'll show you how easy it is to create a graphic on the main version. Is about 8 seconds behind the in-show version. That's very interesting. That's very interesting that the YouTube is faster. But thanks for the information that the 8 seconds behind. Wow, that's a big difference, considering they're emanating from the same camera in the same studio at the same time. Interesting. Very, very... your test stream from earlier is still in sync, but with different visuals. All right, so we're going to create a graphic on here. I can go directly to my screen. So we go over here to the graphics, and I'm going to add an overlay. I'm going to do this white one right here, and I'm going to say this is the in-show live stream. And I'm going to say done. And then, actually, they changed the menus, so you can see the menus are much cleaner. It used to just pop up in sort of like a 6x6 grid. But now with this layout, or I should say me over, with this layout, they can expand this. This can get bigger or smaller as needed, and it's still all nice and neat and orderly. So you can see I can edit the graphic, replace, rename. I can select multiple things. I can lock it to a particular thing, which I'm not going to do because this one is actually going to go, I'm actually going to edit it again. So edit, I want this thing at the top of the screen. I want it a little smaller. I'm going to leave it at the top, done. And then I'm going to bring it up and I'm just going to leave it there. So this will help differentiate that this is the in-show live stream as part of the show. And as he noted, I actually have for my different cameras, let me move out of the way. When I go to this camera, this one's the YoloCam S3. I have titles, so you can see that the camera shot and the title activated automatically because they're locked. Now, the one thing it's not doing is it's not indicating the title. So that's a bug right there. Let me show you what I mean. Me over. So I've got the YoloCam S3 graphic attached to this shot from the S3 webcam. And this is the graphic, but it's not indicating that the graphic is on. And it's also not indicating the graphic is on here. So here's the YoloCam S3 here. It's indicating my lower third, that's saying live pre-show, and it's saying the YoloCam USB, it's saying what camera and the other one, but the one that's attached, it's not properly indicating that that is on. So that, to me, is a bug. And if we go back to the YOLO, you should see that what it should be doing is it should be highlighting that this graphic, which is, again, locked to this input, is active, as opposed to that one, which is not. And then if I switch cameras and I go to the Sony, now the Sony ZV-1 graphic is just because I have multiple cameras kind of coming from the same place, and I want to make it easy for viewers to know which camera is which. So this is the Sony ZV-1. That is that graphic, again, not showing you. This one is indicating that it is on. That one is up there. So this is a bug. Hopefully they can update that. And then over here, I've got the third graphic. This is the OBSBot Tiny 2, which, as you can see, is tracking me. So if I move away, it's going to follow me around. So that's the OBSBot Tiny 2. And we've got two USB cameras because USB camera control is part of the update. So we're going to test that. And then I even got a side-by-side. So if you wanted to see the YoloCam versus the OBSBot Tiny 2, and the Tiny 2 is not the latest. It's now the Tiny 3 is the latest one out. So that is going to be part of the substream right here. And again, it should be showing you S3, Tiny 2, and that one. But it's only showing here. It's not showing the S3 and Tiny 2 are active. Also not showing it on the YOLO deck. So that is how simple it is to create a graphic. And in terms of setting up a show, when you plug inputs into the top, let me go over my overhead. When you plug inputs into the top, they automatically start populating as inputs that you can tap onto. Plus, the neat thing is you can see where I have my 3 cameras with the attached graphic. I don't even have to create what they call a scene to make that happen. It's just an input and I attached a graphic to it. Done. You know, so if I wanted to say this scene with the map and attach the graphic to it, I would just come over here and say lock. Now, there it is. It's locked to that one. It's as simple as that. And that's one thing that I've always said about the YoloBox is that it is so easy. It is so operator friendly to be able to I just plug things in and there they are. So going back to the main camera. So this is the same camera that I'm using here. You can see I'm pointing. It's just that it's flipped for the proper show, so to speak. And that's the Sony ZV-1 that I use just because it's got this cool autofocus thing. So when I bring something up close, like my Dr. Pepper, boom, there it is. And if I move it out, it's a nice smooth. And the YoloCam S7 can do that, but I find it, you know, because it's using a DSLR lens, it's like, you know, and in the Sony, you could see how smooth that happened. It was very, very, you know, elegant, I would say. And one of the other really nice things, like you see this side-by-side that I've got here, making a side-by-side in the YoloBox is also extremely easy. Like if I wanted to compare all 3 cameras, I want to have 3 across. In vMix or some other tool or in OBS, how long would it take you to make a 3-slice graphic? How long? A couple minutes? All right, let's create a 3-slice graphic. I want 3 across. I want this, this, this. Done. 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 Did that take 10 seconds? Literally, that's how fast it is that I can create a 3 across. Now, I can go in and add a border. How thick is the border? What color is the border? Blah, blah, blah. There's another version of this where I can do 3 across, but with space. So this, this, and this. Say done, and put a background on it, and then add a border. Yeah, the border's white. Oh, no, I want the border to be purple because that's my color. Yeah, that didn't work very well. Let's do yellow. Okay, and then you can make that border thicker. It's that easy. I mean, yes, these are presets and there is a full custom thing that you can build out, but that's the real nature of this thing. For 90% of the people, the presets are going to work really, really, really well, and they're super easy to make. So that's what this is. And then you can also adjust the size of the pictures, you know, zoom in, and then you can push them back a little smaller. I don't know why you would do that, but whatever. I say done. And now I've got that graphic, and I can tap that, boom. And because those graphics are attached to the inputs, they appear in all of these sub images. So if you just look at the program, there is the 3 cameras side by side with the graphics that are attached to the source. That's one of the cool reasons to do that, is because every time I cut to that graphic, that, you know, if I cut to them individually, if I cut to them in this 3 shot, if I cut to them in the 2 shot, if I cut to them in that 3 shot, those attached graphics go with it all the time. Very, very, very cool. Any questions coming in? No. Again, just a reminder, throw your questions in about anything at any time. This is a live show, and the whole point of you being here is so that you could ask questions. So there's bonding capable. Let's go back to the YOLO screen itself. There is bonding built in. So if you wanted to connect Ethernet and Wi-Fi and the built-in cellular and bond across all 3 of those, it's built in. It is an additional charge because you have to pay for the other box at the other end to put all the packets back together from the 3 different sources. So yes, it is an extra charge for that. I mean, technically it should be an extra charge for the multicasting, but they haven't charged any extra for it since the beginning, since 2017 and 18. So that's always been included with the YoloBox, and it's been with all the YoloBoxes. So yeah, kudos to them. You've got bonding, you've got your destinations. You can see you've got YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch built in. If you need something else, like I have LinkedIn over there, you can add that via RTMP in the cloud section of your account, add it as a destination, and then it just shows up over there and you can select it. At the top there, you can see the streaming mode. I'm using the multi-streaming service, which is their multicasting. You can see my encoding is 1080p at 4 megabits. I've had 0 drops. I'm doing H.264, not H.265 at constant bit rate. And this is called the June 3rd in-show test stream. We did the graphics. Now, one of the cool things with the graphics is, I guess I'm just going to put it over top of the other graphics, is supposedly animated titles. Look at that. There's my animated title. Wait, let's just look at the program. There it is. And there it goes. And there it is. And there it goes. Yes, it moves. It's more of a title, a static title with a transition. I would not call this animated titles. When I think of animated titles, I think of a title that builds on. When I think of a title, and this one is coming from the director, it builds on. And then, you know, look, it's still animated. I wish I could put my logo in there. And then it builds off. That to me is an animated title. When I go to the output of this and I say, I mean, yeah, it moves, but I would rather call that transitions if you really want to be accurate. That's a title with a transition. And yes, I've got a timer on it to go to 9 seconds, and then 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it goes away by itself. So you can build that. And we want to take a look at that. You can come in here, and then we're going to edit. So over there, you've got all of the settings, and they've been getting better and better and better about putting numbers with these things so that you can, you know, easily say, oh, that started at 385 across and 565 down at 50%. So they put numbers on these things so that you could easily just scoot it left, scoot it right, things like that. You know, title size, I can make it a little bigger, I can make it a little smaller. You know, making all of that really easy. And then the animation is this new thing at the top over there. So you can click on the animation. And again, this is not super interesting if you're on the secondary show. So go to the main show. And you can see over there, let me go over. Right here, I've got it build in from the top and build out. That's what I've got going on there. So I can have it build in from the corner. Let's change that here, build in from the corner, and then I'm going to have it build out in that direction. That's how easy it is to change it. And then you got your duration right here. So I've got, you know, you could milliseconds. Like 500 milliseconds is half a second. So I'm doing about 3. So I'm just slightly faster than half a second. And then you can preview it here, which is actually really cool. So you can click the little preview button and say, well, let me see what that looks like. It goes out in the corner and comes in from the corner. And the reason they do it, it's a little confusing at first, but you always want to see the graphic. You don't want to just build out and then where did my graphic go? So it's going to animate out and then animate back in so that then you could change your size and do different things and change the titles, and you need it there for all of that. So when you animate it, it's going to take it away, bring it in, and it's going to stay there again. As opposed to thinking, well, it's not going to be there until I bring it on. It's actually the opposite. It's going to stay there so that you can do all of this with it there. And then when you want to see it, it's going to take it off and then bring it right back on so that you can still work with it. So kudos to YOLO for thinking of that. That makes a lot more sense, even if it's kind of counterintuitive to how we might expect it. You know, when I say animate, you know, I want it to come on and go off. But it's actually going to go off and come on so that you can keep working with it. Just keep that in mind when you first encounter this. But again, I would not call this animation. I would call this transition. These are just transitions. You know, like if I want to have it do these two, and I say, let me see what that looks like. It's wiping on, it's wiping off. It's a wipe. A wipe is a transition. You know, if I do this and this, then it's sliding in, it's sliding out. Okay, it's not animating in. It's not top layer and then the bottom layer being, you know, even those would technically be transitions. So I take issue with the fact that it says animation when it's really, in my mind, a transition. So this is what I was using, where it zips out and says, oh, I did the same one twice. So let's go to this one. So zip down and zip back in. It kind of looks animated, but it's still not. Done. So what's new? Let's go over there. What's new with the 250? I'm going to use their slides. Companion support. I'm not going to get into the companion support because, as I says, I'm using the YOLO deck right now. Companion is complex to demonstrate because you need an Elgato Stream Deck and you need a computer running companion to communicate with the YoloBox, and you're adding multiple other things to the table, whereas I could just plug this in and you're going to get 95% of the same exact capabilities, you know, because if it's available via API, it's available on the YOLO deck. The advantage, as I said before, is that you can have more things, you know, whereas you only have 15 buttons on the YOLO deck. Hey, YOLO, make a bigger one. While you only have 15 buttons here, you can have, and I do, you can have a bigger USB 3 Elgato Stream Deck. So the buttons you can see are a lot more buttons, a lot more capabilities, and you can do pages in both of these. But you can see that you can do a lot more with these, or you could have the smaller one, but multiple smaller ones dedicated to specific things. One is just doing scoreboard, and you give it to somebody else to just do scoreboard. And one person's just doing graphics, you give it to somebody else just to do graphics. And this one's doing the camera switch, and this is in front of me. So that's really cool. So companion support, growing, it's there, finally, yay. I mean, not finally, it's been around for a little bit now, but growing in capability on the Extreme, and has already been said, a lot of the Extreme features will be going to the Ultra and down the line. You can actually also use the YOLO deck with the Pro. Can't use it with the Mini yet, and I think you should. Viewer map and credits, auto trigger. You see right there? You see how it's really close up on a city? I didn't get that. And I don't know, maybe the auto trigger is required that it pops up with them and it has to auto trigger, and that's where you get the city? Maybe. Let's put that back up, and then I'll go to comments and I'll put on auto trigger. There it goes. Hello from the Netherlands. And then it should zoom out. There it goes. Yay. I'm tapping on a different one. Oh, it's just playing. I don't have the ability to control what it's doing. Interesting. So the auto trigger basically takes away my capability. Can I delete this one? Because there's an ad coming up. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. See, somebody actually put a Stream Boo ad in the comments, and if you have auto trigger, it's going to put that into the show, which I'm not going to do manually. So that's part of the thing. Question came in. The cloud service for the YoloBox is free? Yes, it has always been free. And as I says, the YOLO streaming destinations, the YOLO streaming destinations are, here we go, do me over. YOLO has the multi-streaming service and has had that since the OG, or the original YoloBox. It will take one stream out at apparently only 2.97 megabits right now, and it will send it to 3 destinations for you. So it's splitting it in their cloud. So it's going through their thing. If you don't want to use that, you can click on this and send it to just one destination, and it's just from your device to YouTube, not going through their computers. But right now, if you want to, it goes from your YoloBox through their server, going out to 3 destinations. This has always been included for every YoloBox, and it's limited to 3. If you want more, you can sign up for YoloCast, which will give you much more capability in that. But again, the advantage to this is you can go to 3 destinations, but you're only sending one stream with one data rate. You're not sending, let's just say 3 megabits. I'm not sending 3 times 3 is 9 to 10 megabits. I'm only sending 3. So you save, especially on cellular, you're more likely to get all your frames out with a lower data rate than you are if you're trying to send 3 5 megabit streams. You're going to need 15 plus to be able to get that out. Now, bonding and ASP can help, but it's also just as easy just to use the multi-streaming service that's built in. So thanks for the question. So does Highland Park, Texas. Continuing along, that was just answering the question. So we did the streaming, the titles, the audio mixer in the YoloBox is quite capable. Couple key features is you've got audio follows video on certain things, and if you are doing a remote guest show, having that capability, the audio follows video is very, very handy because your remote guests can all be connected. You can have 5 people connected, but none of their microphones are on until they are on the screen. And then if you went to a multi-view with 3 people, then all of a sudden all of their microphones would be on and you could all have a conversation. And then when you go back to just the host, now only his or her microphone is on and all of the guests' microphones are silent. They're all muted because the audio follows video. Very cool. If you're doing remote guests, the other key feature is being able to not hear yourself. And that's because every camera that comes into the YoloBox, every single one of these sources has to be synced up because they're all coming in from different cameras at different times. So they all have to be like ripped apart and synced up. That gives everything a little bit of delay. The YoloBox automatically makes it so that all of the audio is delayed to fit the video, which has been delayed so that they all match. But then when you try to speak and you hear yourself with that echo, it makes it so hard to talk. So if you have a producer who's not in front of the camera talking, they can have the headphones on and monitor everything. Yay. If you are self-hosting, like I am, and you are in front of the camera and part of the audio source, then it becomes a problem in that you would normally, on most devices, hear yourself in your own ear, but now with a delay. And it's hard to talk with the echo, which is why I check my audio in the show and then I take the earbuds out, because I can't do the show and monitor my audio that's been delayed by any of these all-in-one devices. So the magic is right here. You say, you see how this is my monitor, this is my show, this is the headphones, this is my audio coming in, and it's active. These are all grayed out because I'm not using the audio from those sources. So this is the one that I don't want to hear in my ears. So I can hit that little button, and now that audio is still going to program, but it's not going in my ears. But what about the other guest? Let's just say Tiny 2 is a guest. We're going to turn Tiny 2 on, and now this audio is included in my ears. The guest's audio I can hear. But my own audio is not in my ears. So therefore, I can talk and everything, and then when I stop talking, I hear everybody else. And then when I start talking, I don't hear myself with the echo. This is available only, this new mixer is available only on the Ultra and the Extreme. And that feature right there makes remote guests so much more usable. Audio follows video is very handy for remote guests. You could use it or not. You can leave them, you can turn audio follows video on per source. So let's just say I just wanted to have this one on. So if I do something with that USB-C and I bring all three of these up, you'll see that now that audio is part of the show, although it doesn't indicate that it's on. So that's kind of a bug too. The audio is there, but if I go back to just me, you'll see that now that audio is not included. Let's go back to the 3. Actually, you do see that this has turned the color. It doesn't say that it's on, but this has become color as opposed to grayed out. And then when I go back to just the main shot, you will see that this goes back to gray, indicating this is not part of the program. I guess that's good enough. If it's just grayscale, not part of the show. You can ignore this. If it's in color, it's important and it's part of the show. But you can see the difference is I don't have to listen to myself. So useful. Now, there are ways around that for the Pro and the Mini that you can use the remote guest features, but the way around it is you make yourself a guest into your own show using another cell phone. And then with that cell phone, you don't hear yourself, but you do hear everybody else as part of the show. It's a little wonky workaround. I did a video on that like a year and a half ago, so you can go find that one. But the Ultra and the Extreme make this so much easier. And there's also one other key feature with regards to the audio, which we'll get to in a minute, where the audio following the video is one thing, but you can also make the video follow the audio, so that if you had multiple cameras around a table and each camera was looking at one person and you fed their microphone into that camera, what's going to happen is when Bob speaks, Bob's camera is going to cut to Bob's camera. So the video is going to follow the audio. And then when Bob stops talking and Mary starts talking, it's going to wait, a certain length of time, and then it's going to say, the audio from Bob has stopped, the audio from Mary has started, and you program these in. When audio from 3, cut to 3, and it's going to cut to Mary. And then when Mary stops talking and Janet starts talking, when audio from 3 stops and audio from 2 comes up, cut to 2, and it's going to go around. Then, very smart, YOLO, then if it's got audio from 2 people, like these 2 people are arguing, well, I don't think so, well, you don't understand, and they're arguing, if you get audio from both, cut to the wide shot. Super cool. Videos follows audio. Awesome. The record settings, the record settings on here allow you to record to internal storage on the Extreme, not the Ultra, as far as I know. And you can record to a USB stick. You can record to an SD card. And you can record, you can see I'm just recording program, but I can also do ISO records of HDMI 7, the USB camera, the Sony HDMI, the Tiny 2 coming in via USB-C. I've got it set to automatically segment at 10-minute intervals. So if the thing crashes or something goes wrong, I only lose the last however many minutes, not the whole show. And if I wanted to, and I'm doing all of those ISOs, I could actually generate an XML cut file so that I can take the source files into a timeline and it'll automatically produce an edit for me based on my switching. So if I'm doing this between my 3 cameras, I'm going to have a timeline that supposedly echoes all these things. Now, that's not something I do. I'm more interested in live streaming, but there are people who do record for later editing, and that really helps with that. You can see up at the top there, it says I'm doing 1080p, 30 frames a second. You can do 4K recording in the 4K models. So the Ultra and the Extreme both allow for 4K internal recording and ISO recording as well. The internal storage of the device, you can see I've got 216 gigabytes of storage. I've used this much. So you know, you'll eat this up a lot faster if you're doing a bunch of ISO records at 4K. I'm doing an HD show at 6 megabits, which is nothing. And I'm only recording the program. So I'm not going to fill this up very fast at all. Also keep in mind, the internal storage is very fast. So if you're doing multiple 4K records, internal storage is probably the best idea. It's going to be the fastest because it's already inside the machine. SD cards may struggle. You know, some cards are great, some cards less than great. USB-C storage, like an external SanDisk T7 or whatever, those would be really good plugged into the USB-C port. That's not the power port. That would be great, but just you can select anything you want. Just be aware that not all storage is created equal. Test, test, test. Test it again. So all audio stays in sync. All audio is supposed to stay in sync. You know, that's how these things are designed. Continuing along, again, like I was saying, here's my stream encoding. Let me go over here. You've got your stream encoding, and the Ultra and the Extreme have multiple encoders. So you can stream at 1080p, 30 frames a second. I can record internally at 4K at 60 frames a second at 20 megabits. So I can do 2 different things here. You can't do that on the Pro or the Mini. The Pro and the Mini only have 1 encoder, and the InStream. They only have 1 encoder. So whatever you stream is also what you record. You can record and stream, but it's only 1 encoding. And it goes through that one thing, and I can send it out and save it. But this one has 2 different encoders, and the one that's going out can be a low bit rate, and the one that you're saving can be a really high bit rate. So that's where these bigger boxes really pay off, is that you've got this extra capability. Plus also, you can see right now they've added this heads-up display. I'm doing this show. I'm going to 3 destinations. I'm recording. I'm only using 50% of the CPU, 17% of the GPU, and only half of the RAM. So I'm doing pretty good. There's still a little bit of headroom to do a whole bunch of stuff with multiple graphics. Actually, if I tap that one, it'll probably be a little bit harder. So now I'm using more RAM to do all 3 of these things on the screen at the same time. Continuing along, you got the sports scoreboards built in, and the sports scoreboards allow you to put on, let's just do me. You can see it up here. You can make this bigger size. You can make this bigger, and then you can move it around. When it's got this dotted line, it's not active, so that allows you to play with it before it's live. And then Team 1, Team 2, and everything. time period. Now, scoreboard styling. This is where we get into, where is the, no, not that one. Scoreboard display size. I'm looking for the design. Maybe it's in a new location. I don't use the sports scoreboards because I don't do sports. So I have not kept up with all of like where that is now. Normally it was like right there, you would scoreboard styling, you would select, do you want a baseball one? Do you want a soccer one? Do you want bowling? Do you want cricket? Do you want things like that? It's not there. Scoreboard. There we go. It's that little button right there. Like, you know, you could just make it an item here, but that little button right there. This gear icon is main YoloBox settings, like holistically for the whole box. And honestly, there's a couple things down here like bonding. I don't need bonding to be a tab. That should actually be up here in the holistic settings. So I would organize this a little bit differently and have some of these settings all put into those, because once you have bonding on or you don't have bonding, you never need ready access to it like you need access to comments. You know, I want to see comments. I definitely want to see comments during the show. I definitely maybe want to see titles so I can switch them during the show, or the audio settings so I can adjust somebody's microphone level. Am I going to adjust my bonding settings during a live show? No, it's either on or off. So I don't need it to be down there with all the other things. Anyway, back to scoreboards. So here we go into here, and now you can see, you know, you've got different layouts. This is a nice soccer one. There's a nice baseball one with the little diamond and everything. So you've got a bunch of different sports scoreboards. And as I have mentioned many times in YOLO shows, you also get a complete sports graphics titling machine for free as part of your YOLO account, and it's available online in your YOLO, you know, cloud capability. You can build your own sports scoreboards and graphics from scratch with whatever you want. So that's all there, and it's included for free. So sports scoreboards, the replay settings, again, I don't do sports, so you can turn replay on. I like this. This is something that I have specifically asked for. Actually, let me go back to the titling, turn that off so it's not on the screen. So over here, you can see the replay is off. On the earlier models, like the Mini and the Pro, replay is always on. It's always caching. It's always doing this, even if you don't need it to be doing it, because if you're like me, you're not doing replay. You're not going to replay. You know, oh, somebody was up there and they says, we need to do this. Oh, let's look at the replay. We need to do this. No, it's not going to happen for me. I'm not going to use replay. So I would like to disable that function completely, save the CPU cycle, save the read and write and everything, and just use that processing capability elsewhere. And the replay settings on the Ultra and the Extreme let you turn that off. So that's not doing it. Then when you turn it on, please set video sources to, oh, I got to set my video sources first. Okay. Replay, reselect the source. Okay, I want to do my Sony HDMI. There we go. And now I can turn replay on. And so you can see a lot of capability in and out. There's replay audio. Do you want the replay audio on? Generally, no, because it's going to be slowed down and distorted. So I turn the replay audio off. But there's also the ability to put in your own replay graphic. There's stingers in and out. So I can't preview. Well, I could kind of preview that. Let's show the intro and outro. We've got the replay graphic. I don't have my own replay graphic. And then we can put that up there. And I'm doing this clip right here. So technically, I can hit replay, play now. And then you see that little graphic there. So now you're seeing my replay. It says replay very softly in the corner, which is why they let you put in your own. And then when it's done, it'll zip, zip, and then it'll be back to the actual show. There we go. So that's with the replay. And again, you can put in your own stingers. So that animated transition, that's called a stinger. I guess it shows show intro, outro. Yeah, show the intro and outro. And then you can have different ones. You can have this one in and that one out. You can have them branded and everything. So sports replay graphics, very cool. If you hear a siren in a minute, it's because it's 12 o'clock and they love to do the test. And I think it's the first week of the month, so they may actually test the siren. So that's fair warning. I'm going to go up. I'm going to turn my replay off. You can see it actually did not affect my usage very much at all, this single replay. But you can actually have multiple replays. And then, as we were saying before, yes, they are going to test the siren. I can select multiple, reselect. I can't do it while it's on. Reselect. So I can turn on all of these things, right? And then I turn it on. Now it's caching all of those things. Now all of a sudden my CPU went up to 60, my RAM went up to almost 60. So there's more going on inside the system. And then you can see all of these are now being, cached. And then if I say replay, this is a cool feature in saying, I want to play the replays now, or I want to use them later. So you can say, this was a great score, but something else is happening. So just use them later, and they'll be they're saved. And all of the replays are saved to your storage in a folder so that you can actually take them and do like a highlights reel after the show and stuff like that. So I'll say use later, just so I don't have to look at them. And we're going to exit that. Look at all my replays. Look at my replays. Yay. Yay. I would tag this one. You know what? I don't want to see that one. That's dumb. I don't want to use that as a replay, but let's use these as replays. So then I can play the selected. I can play them all. Very cool. Very, very, the replay system, which has been around since the Mini and the Pro, the replay has been always a really cool feature, but now it's just a whole level better with the replay, and it's just very, very usable. What is that? Guess I got a fold in my thing. Continuing along, we've got the start auto switch. So default mode, you can sit there and say, play this, then this, then this, then A, then B, then C. That's going to get boring. And then you could also add, say, the main camera is the most important. So come back to that more often at a different length. But then here's where the video follows audio. And if you click on here, oh, not with that button, with my finger. Now you can say sensitivity, switch duration. You want to minimum switch, so you want to hold a shot. You don't want to cut. You don't want it to like jump around really fast. You want to hold a shot for at least 2 seconds and then cut to the next thing. The threshold, how loud does a microphone get before, and then choose your audio sources, and then you build this out and save this as part of your show. And if you've got a regular podcast, this makes it so the person producing the show almost doesn't have to do anything. It's really, 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 really handy. And again, turn it on, turn it off. Remote guests. Inviting remote guests into this thing is enable the guest function. You can invite guests. I'm going to stand in front of it. You can send a link to yourself. You can send it out to an email and anything, and invite people to the studio. And then they will come up with, you can come up with, this is, what do I call this? Placeholder. I specifically asked for that. I said, what would really make remote guests great is if we had placeholders and we could build the show with all these different layouts and who's where and whatnot and everything. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I've got a remote guest. I could produce a show with nobody in the studio. Everybody's at home. But here is the host. Host is number 1. And I can build a show because now over here, I have remote guest 1. And I can add in more guests over here, 2 and 3. Now I've got these as placeholders. So if I wanted to create a multi-view with the side-by-side, and I want to do guest 1 with the map done, and then I could resize this over here like that. Let me put it to the side so you see what I'm doing better. Put the background on it. Done. Now, You don't want to have to do this once they connect during a live show. And maybe you don't give yourself 20 minutes before a show to have everybody connect ahead of time. Maybe you're doing a live call-in, and the ability to have this stuff pre-built. Now I want to have another multi-view with the 3 across again, with guest, guest, guest done. And then I'm going to add a border so we can separate them a little bit. I'm going to change the color to my yellow. Okay, there it is. And say done. So now I've got this guy, this head. This is my pre-show, or this is, talking, hey, we got a bunch of guests coming in, and now let's bring in our guests. Boom, and now they're all 3 across. Look, it's all built. It's, nobody's connected, but I'm able to build the show. I'm able to customize things. I'm able to put graphics and attach things and do all that cool stuff with nobody connected. Plenty of time. Spend an hour, and be able to do all that, and then audio follows video or video follows audio. So that's where the auto switch capability comes in that you can have the audio follows the video for each of these guests, and then their audio will only be part of the show when they're on. And then when the host is talking now about the map, the other 2 mics are quiet. They're not part of the show. So if somebody's got a barking dog or a siren outside their house or lawnmowers or something like that, you can take them off the screen and their audio goes with them. And that is a great feature. Then when somebody connects, it says, Mary's here. Where do you want Mary to go? And I know Mary's my guest. I'm going to attach Mary to 2. And then Bob shows up. Hey, Bob is here. Where do you want Bob to go? Bob's my host. I'm going to attach him to 1. They can come in out of order. They can come in however they come in. And then I attach them to the various roles. If something goes wrong and they have to disconnect and reconnect, it'll pop up again. Bob's back. Where do you want Bob to go? Number 1. And then Bob fills in every single number 1 that I have created. This is like, I would do this in vMix, and this is something that I says, this is going to make the remote guest feature so much better, because you can build an entire podcast show with all remote guests and just have things automatically populate. Like as soon as Bob connects, I say, Bob is number 1, done. Let's go. It's all built. He's everywhere he needs to be in every single multi-view. It's all done. Yay. So really, really cool thing. That is the remote guest feature. I am going to turn that off. Done. Comments. We talked about the comments before. People coming in. Hello from Harlem. Let's try this. I guess there's no way for me to say like this one. Can I just, no, it just wants to continue from where it wants to continue. Hello from Harlem. There you go. So if I manually tag it, that's cool. And then I guess I could still come in here and say the duration is 7 seconds. Done. So take that out, and then I can go back to hello from South Africa. Zoop. Hello from Greece. Being able to do it manually is pretty slick. And then it pulls out because it faded out. Let's see, who else do we got? Hello from London. Zoop. There's London. And then because I already set the countdown timer, it's just going to do that automatically. And then I said hello from Dallas. Let's see if you do it now. There we go. Hello from Dallas. And it'll pull out automatically. And Wolfgang is over there. Hello in Germany. So this I think is really cool. Now I'm triggering these manually, and if you put in the auto trigger, it'll automatically do that. But like I said, as you can see down here, this one right here, AI viewers, streamboo.com, spam. I'm getting spam comments, and you have to watch out for people manipulating any sort of auto trigger so that their stuff goes in just goes in automatically. Now, I could look at the name. You know that name is only existing for the next hour, and then that account's going to be trashed. So if you try to block that person, there's no use in it because that person will never exist again. It's just typing a bunch of keys. And there's not a lot you can do to block those things from coming in new if you put it on auto trigger. So manual trigger, I guess, is going to be good enough. Hello from Harlem. And back up. That's very, very cool. So that's the comments. And again, you come over here, you can set up like what your comments to look like. If somebody wants to like throw in, $1, you can actually get that to show up on the comments is there as well. You can have it look like that. You can have it look like that. These really haven't changed in many years. It'd be nice if, a couple more variations came out. But these are all very, very usable. I mean, I think I see this one almost exclusively everywhere because the username has a highlight, whereas the other two, it's just kind of blended in and blended in, to be able to like turn the person's, icon off or on, or turn their username off or on, different designs. You don't really have a lot of flexibility here, but by and large, you don't necessarily need a lot of flexibility. You can adjust the opacity, the duration, the fonts, the colors and everything to match what you want it to be. And then, you could put this wherever you want and change the size of it as well. So if you wanted it up there in the corner, you could do that. But then because I use my graphics as for questions, I like to have them up here big enough that you can read them, so that this way the graphic comes up very large down at the bottom and you see how it's animated. It builds on and builds off. And this is, again, with the Restream service. These graphics are being created in Restream with the icon, the YouTube, the name, and the cloud service, or the question or comment that they had. That's all in Restream. Done. Next up is music. If you wanted to have background music, there's a whole playlist feature inside of the YoloBox. So you could do different things and have music playing. So if you're just doing like crafts, you're doing pottery, you can talk a little bit and you could be working with your hands and you've got the auto switch going on, switching between the different views. And then, hey, if ever I start talking, go to the camera that's on me. If not, do these other things. And then you can have just background music playing as well, just to fill in the quiet time. And then over here, you've got your transitions. Again, I think this should be buried up in the upper right-hand corner because I don't see myself needing to change. I'm going to cut. 99% of the time, I'm going to cut. The only time I really want to fade is if I bring up a video or not. And then there's 3 dots where you can say, you know what? I don't want to see network bonding. I don't want to see the scoreboard. I don't want to see auto switch. I'm not going to invite guests. I'm not going to use the replay. I'm not going to use background music. I am not going to change my transition. And I want my comments to be the first thing I see, and then my overlays to be the second thing. My platforms are not going to change during the show. I don't even know why I can't disable that, but I can't. So platforms, I don't care. Recording, audio mixer. So realistically done. Those things that I want to see right now are those first 2 icons right here. I need to get the comments and I need to get the overlays. Maybe the mixer. Those are the only things I'm really going to need during a show. I'm not going to change my recording settings in the middle of a show. I am not going to change my stream settings in the middle of a show. I'm not going to change where I'm sending it in the middle of a show. You could, but and okay, I will admit I have done it once because something wasn't working. So I turned it off and then I turned it back on. And then it came up, where do you want to go? And then it pushed it again and it worked the second time. So, okay, yes, you could possibly need this. I recant what I said. And then there are the general settings. You see it now has an X up here. Your classic mode is you just have the program window, show performance status, that's that up there, show title and action zones in the window. We can turn those on so you can see, click. Now you can see where your safe action and everything area is. These have much less relevance today in that laptop screens are going to show you edge to edge. Most TVs are going to show, LCD and OLED screens are going to show you edge to edge. Phones are going to show you edge to edge. They're not tucking anything behind the edge of a screen, but it does help in terms of knowing where the center is. Show the fade to black button. I don't want to fade to black. I want you to see the show. You can click the switch or you can double click the switch. The director mode is available on this one because it's got a bigger screen. So let's do that and take away this. No, done. Get there. Oh, it's not showing me. Interesting. Double click to switch. So what it would do is it would put a preview and a program over here. So what I've got is double click to switch. Now single click, but director mode should be right here. But I'm not seeing director mode with two screens. Interesting. So we're going to turn it off. Local video settings, hold, playback, loop, playback, and there's a lot more capability with the video that we'll get to in a second because this has been a pretty decent update. Continuing along, your input settings, your frame rate settings for these are inputs 1, 2, and 3. The Extreme has 8 inputs, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all capable of 4K. Inputs 1, 2, and 3 are HD. So you can set the frame rate for 1, 2, and 3, and it will ask you when you plug something in. So if I were to take an input and plug it in, if I were to take this and plug it in down here, it's then going to pop up. What is this? What do you want it to be? I'll say 30, done. And now it's available down here at 30 frames a second. Whereas if I plug it in up here, which is where it was, HDMI 7 should repopulate up here automatically. This one we're just going to delete because I'm not using it. Delete. And 3 views. I don't know why that, not to delete. Go away. So now, oh, interesting. Oh, that was the caller. So yeah, the callers aren't there, so we're just going to delete those things I created with the callers. So there's my input up here, and the 4K inputs are going to auto sense and then just work. Continuing along with the thing, you got the HDMI out. So you got 2 HDMI outs, and you can set them to be program, multi-view. So if you wanted to look at the multi-view like this, let's change this one. Multi-view shows me all of my different inputs into the switcher. Custom out, so I can select a particular input just to loop through and go out. And then I can have mirror out, which is showing you the screen that I'm working on right here. It's mirroring this entire screen out of the output, and that is really handy, especially for me making demos. But also if you wanted to have that available for someone else to see what all is going on in terms of inputs and say, your graphic overlays or your audio mixer and things like that. So that's a lot of capability in there. Now, let's continue back on over here. Animation effects, comments, and overlays. Again, we covered this. This is one of the new announcements. Cover this. I don't think these are animation effects. I think these are transition effects. Oops. Why would that suddenly go away? USB camera resolution adjustment. This could be kind of cool. So I've got 2 USB cameras. Let's go to here. I've got 2 USB cameras, and you can see YoloCam USB. I can click on that, and you see how all of these things are available. Whereas when I went over here to my title, it's a shorter list. So the list view looks so much better in terms of being able to crop, chroma key, add a lot, camera setting, transition action, replicate, rename, Select multiple things. You can flip horizontal, flip vertical, and then rotate. I see. That's an interesting way to do that icon. Normally it's just an arrow. So that's rotate. So we can go into the camera settings of this, and you can see sharpness, contrast, saturation, vignetting, correction. But this is YOLO's camera. So you've got a lot of capability in here in terms of anti-flicker, exposure type, your white balance settings, the resolution, the frame rate, firmware update. I don't even know if there's firmware available, but there's a lot of capability in terms of doing this with the YOLO camera. Now, let us see what it looks like if I go to the Tiny 2 USB and I go to camera setting. You can see there's a lot less resolution and frame rate. So from the Tiny 2, technically I should be able to pull 4K. Oh, I can. There you go. 4K at 30 frames a second. So now you can force the USB camera to be 4K. Whereas before, and I've done a couple shows about the YOLO cam, they all came in at HD, and I was like, I thought these were 4K, but it's reporting HD. Now I can go over there and say, I want this to be 4K at 30 frames a second. Boom! Look at that. Actually, that distinctly stepped up. So that is now 4K. And let's bring down the heads-up display. USB-C, you see it over there on the bottom? USB-C is coming in at 4K. Let's go to the USB 2 from the YOLO Cam S1? Yeah, S3. Let's go for the S3. I don't know why there's not an S1. So we're going to change that one now. Get rid of the heads-up display. We're going to go to my YOLO. We're going to go to my camera settings. I'm going to go to the gear. I'm going to say, you know what? I want you to be 4K. And there it is. Wow. It looks great on the OLED display. I got to say, wow. So we're going to back out of that, and then we'll bring down the heads-up display. You can see both of my USBs are now at 4K, whereas my HDMI camera, my main camera, I know is just an HD camera. I don't have it set to 4K. And the video coming out of my ATEM for the sub switch, I know is just HD. So you can see those two HDMI inputs right there. Those are both coming in at HD, both at 60 frames a second. And then my two USBs are now at 4K. And that is a new feature in terms of changing your USB camera resolution adjustment. Kudos. Love it. Thank you. Let's continue on. 90-day scheduling of standard events. Well, I don't know about the 90-day scheduling. I have to really see how this works, because I think I've done 30 days out, or a couple weeks out on YouTube. How often do we need to schedule a YouTube 90 days in advance? I mean, I think 30 days is usually pretty good, but and how does this happen if Facebook, I know Facebook itself doesn't allow you to schedule things more than a week out. LinkedIn doesn't allow more than a week out. So I don't know how you schedule them 90 days in advance, unless they go into a buffer into your YoloCast or your YOLO account, and then when you are 1 week out, it makes the event. We'll see. We'll have to see how that actually plays out. Fast forward and rewind frame by frame in your playback. Let's check this out. So I'm going to add a video. Let's try, there's my quad clips. Let's try this one. Done. So now I've got this video clip, and I can jump back a couple of seconds. I can jump back a couple of seconds. But if I go down to the settings down here, add LUT, crop, chroma key, transition, I'm not seeing where I get those added. Time capabilities. What am I clicking on there? No, I'm not clicking on the 5 seconds. Well, I'm not seeing it. Oh, wait, sorry. Boom, 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 boom. My apologies. Let's do this again. So I've loaded a video clip over here, and it has these back and jump ahead, 5 seconds, and jump back, 5. Jump back, jump back, jump back, jump back, jump back. Now over here it shows like there's a pop-up 1.55. It's showing these a pop-up. Playback. It doesn't say replay, it says playback. So I've got my video clip, and if I can drag the cursor, right? I can click on the back button, I can click on the forward button. Clicking and holding does not bring up a pop-up. Clicking and holding on just brings up a little thumbnail as I drag across. Pause. Pausing it lets you do frame by frame. Did he step out of bounds when he went to kick that ball? Okay, there we go. So you got to pause first. That's where it's at. That was a little unclear in that. But I'm still not getting the pop-up that they have on that left image there. I'm not getting a pop-up. Do I press and hold that? Nope. Press and hold this. Press and hold the timeline. Nope. Oh, wait. No. Oh, that was just the thumbnail again. So I'm not getting it whether, if I press and hold the timeline and move a little bit, I just get the thumbnail. I don't get this little pop-up that's appearing at this bottom one over here that shows me, like, I can select how big that is. And I just updated it this morning. So I'm pretty sure I got the update that they're talking about. Next item is video source refined controls. You can rename crop, chroma key, LUT, PTZ control, transition, and then applying the LUT. Where's it getting all those? So let's just say I've got this clip. I am going to let this clip play, and then I'm going to come in here and crop. And you can see these are my crop commands on the left here, so I can adjust what this is looking like and transform it as well. Flip, rotate, crop, and then there's on the right is my LUT and chroma key capability, so you can use a video as your chroma key and put a video over top of something else, because you can also add a video as an overlay. So add your video as an overlay and do a chroma key. Although generally a chroma key is probably not the best way to do a graphic. You can actually animate a PowerPoint into a video with a solid green and then use your chroma key to bring in that animated PowerPoint as a video and get your animated graphics. Done. Click to something else. Next one up is overlay optimization, XY position control. We talked about that when we talked about our titles. Very good capability. Batch add and delete support. So that's one of the key things that we've seen several times. It's kind of subtle, but when you click over here, it does a little multi-select at the bottom. So this right here is kind of new. Whereas you could, for several years now, you press and hold, and I can move these around and change the order. Very handy. You can, but touching them selects them to turn on. But if you want to multi-select, now there's a multi-select feature. So you see how it's yellow? I can select multiple things, and down the bottom I can delete or I can cancel. So if you want to get rid of a bunch of things, let's just say you were doing a conference and you had titles for all 20 people that were going to come up and speak. Then you're getting ready for the second session. You can delete all of those first titles and bring everything up without having to move a whole bunch of stuff. You can build the whole day and then just delete each session when it's done, and everything also will bring itself to the top. Yay. So the multi-delete is what makes that possible. And custom font import. Custom font import support in that if you are basic import fonts. Okay, so if you are in your graphics and I wanted to do my Sony ZV-1 and I wanted to edit this and I wanted to text a font, you can see my built-in fonts are now much more, sorry, let me come back out. So now I'm over there, I'm going to change the graphic for my Sony ZV-1. And then I come over here, I select edit, and then over there, over here where it says Montserrat Extra Bold, I can click on that. And now it's showing me all of these fonts in sort of like a preview mode, which is really, I mean, it kind of did that before, but in a long vertical thing. Now it's sideways and it's draggable. So you can drag this back and forth. And there's the Montserrat Extra Bold that I have selected with a very thin red border. I can change it to, you know, PT Sans or whatever. Actually, I do want something fairly bold, so I'll go to Open Sans. But then here's the import fonts. I can then, if I have an SD card with fonts, I can then click the plus button and drag something in. Very handy if you are working with a client who wants all of the graphics you create to match their company font. You can bring the font in. That's going to be very key. And also, let me point out that in the colors, let's just say you had a client saying, none of these are my color. We need you to match my color. You can come down here to custom, and then, you know, you could drag your thing all over the place, yeah, but that's still not going to get you where you need to be in terms of a color. Oh, I'm just going to drag this around. And is it this red or this red or this red or that red? I really don't know. You've got your hex key right here. In any company that has an internal marketing department, they're going to have a style sheet. And the style sheet is going to tell you RGB and hex for the color that is their corporate color, their brand. And with that hex, you can type in that hex number right there. You can type in that hex number. Actually, waiting for the keyboard to show up. Oh, it won't show up because I got the YoloDeck connected. If I disconnect the YoloDeck and then type in, select all, let me exit this and come back in. Custom hex. Interesting. I'm not getting the keyboard, even though I've disconnected my YoloDeck. So that could possibly be a bug. In that is where you would type in the hex key. But I do know that once the Android tablet that is the YoloBox senses that there is an external input device, it assumes it's a keyboard. And then many times when you try to type things in, the keyboard won't pop up. And I think this is one of those times where it's waiting for you to type it in. So this needs to be excluded from that and always force the keyboard to come up. Otherwise, you can't type it in. But that is where you would, FE2298. You know, you would type in and then it would go right to the exact color of your client's, you know, brand sheet. And that's how you would, specify that. Just like specifying their font. They provide the font, they provide the color, you match it, and then you use it for the graphics. And those graphics then match what the client's corporate look is. And you can see since I've changed this, it's no longer locked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here again. I've got the thing up. I'm going to come up and say lock it. There it is. And now it's locked to the input. So when I switch, those things just change. But now this one has the different color and the different font that I had selected. Coming back over here, custom font import, yay. Full screen display support. So you've always kind of been able to do something like that. You've got, let me go full screen here. You've got this little thing right here. And this has been around since the Mini and the Pro. The Mini actually works this way normally by default because the screen is super small. The Pro gives you the different sections like this. But if you wanted to, you tap that. And now you've got the big screen and this over here. This is also where you access the annotate feature. So if you wanted to draw on something, and as you can see, this is me over here, and there's me over here. And then you can turn those off. Where is the super full? Oh, there it is. Full screen. Now you can take that and just make this thing the whole thing. What this is really useful for is, let me look at the overhead. What this is really useful for is now you want to see critical focus. I need to see all the, I want to see just the shot. I've got an 11-inch screen. I want to see 11 inches of what that shot looks like, super big, super bright, so that I can confirm that everything is good in the shot. And then tap it, exit full screen, and then you're back to where you get most of a full screen here, most of a full screen, but you can still switch your inputs. You've got all your inputs over here. Now, if you needed your graphics, you can see that's going to slide in as an overlay and slide out. So you can bring them in as needed. Comments, bring them in. Comments, bring them out. And you're working in a larger program mode. It still seems a little wonky to me. So given that it's an 11-inch screen, I'm okay working in this mode where I can have my graphics up, my sources up, my program up, and I could easily switch between things and bring things up and out. Just, it's all here. I don't have to bring them on, then execute it, then push it away. But different people like to work different ways, and the YOLO lets you work different ways. Whether you want physical touch surface, working on this surface, full screen, all those different ways to do it. And then that is the end of what's new in the YoloBox Extreme. I hope this hour-and-a-half show has helped you. Oh, here we go. What, you're not using a mouse on the YoloBox? No, I am not using a mouse on the YoloBox. I don't even have a wired mouse. I guess I could Bluetooth one. I mean, I have a trackball here that I use to toggle the graphics, but that's connected to the Windows PC, which is running Restream. So if I wanted to throw up the QR code for Restream and let you know that you could, do the same thing with your shows, you could do that right here. But I'm using that on the PC, which is off to the side. That's the fourth switcher to bring in those graphics as part of the show. And I am not using the mouse on the YoloBox because it's got a touch screen. And that's one of the real advantages of the YoloBox is the touchscreen. And with the Extreme being 11 inches, everything is big enough. When you have a much smaller device, let's just say you happen to have a Mini. The Mini is just a fraction of the size. It's almost 4 times larger than a Mini, because remember the Mini screen is a fraction of that display. So if you were to turn this on and see how small the actual display is, you could easily go 2 of these displays across. There's a big bezel on that. The bezel on the Extreme is much smaller. So having this large of a canvas to work on makes it easier for me to not use a mouse. And you can see there's my in-show stream and everything. It's all connected on my account. I'm going to power that off. So no. NDI question. NDI question. Everyone airily says just plug camera into a switcher. Easy. I use Roadcaster video, and once only it worked with a StreamTek camera, but not again. Devil is in the detail of IP addresses. Good question. NDI is a discovery. If you have everything set to defaults, generally it works on discovery. And a device, you turn your cameras on first, so they're on the network broadcasting. the fact that they exist. Then you turn your switcher on, and then it looks around the network. It goes all the way down the list of IP addresses because, in my network at least, it's DHCP. If you have manually assigned IP addresses, it works differently. But if you're using DHCP with a router and a switch, then what's happening is every device is like coming onto the network, and it asks the router, what's my address? You're 121. Okay, great. Now that camera is 121. My YoloBox comes on and says, hi, I'm here. What number am I? You're 25. Okay, great. Then when you launch NDI and you add a source and then you add NDI, it's going to search and it sees my P200. It looks on the network and it says, ah, there's a P200. Now I have two P200s because I have upgraded it, and it's capable of full NDI and HX. And the Extreme can pull in full NDI and HX. FX, you see where it says 2 FX and 6 HX. The FX is full NDI. It's like 100 megabits per camera at HD. The HX can be like 20 megabits. So it's much more network efficient. So if I select the HX and I say done, now that camera, let me get rid of the graphics, we'll continue to answer it. That camera is right down there at the bottom. I can call it up. So here is the camera. Yay! That's the camera way over there coming across NDI. So you can see there's a little bit of delay between now and everything else. And that camera is coming across NDI from there. I just leave it on now because I'm almost always calling up, you need to bring in NDI, so that camera just stays on now. It's pointing at the studio. And you can do PTZ control. Let's see if they have finally, I've begged them for this. I have saying, listen, if you have found the camera across the network, you then already know what the IP address is. Previously, I would click PTZ control and then it would say, well, what is the IP address of the camera I'm already connected to? I'm like, you're already connected to it. You should know. So let's click on PTZ. No, it's still asking me what the IP address is. Now, I can use a third-party tool and then find out what the IP address is, cancel, but it just seems silly that, no, and it doesn't show up here either. So you see my IP address is right there. Of my box, the YOLO Extreme is address of 41. I then have to use some other tool to find the IP address of the camera in order to be able to control the PTZ within the YoloBox. Now, every device works differently. This is a limitation of the YoloBox. When I connect to cameras via a Magewell director, when it connects to the camera, it knows what the IP address and the control is just there. And the same thing can happen if I were to go over to my laptop and I say, I'm going to bring up Studio Monitor. When Studio Monitor launches, it's going to go down the list of all the IP addresses, and then I'm going to come up here and I say, well, what's available? Oh, it already knows what's there. There's my HP Omen, which is the laptop, and it's outputting, and there's my P200, and here's my camera. Now, it already knows, and here's my camera controls right there on the side. And if I wanted to, I could launch. There's the dashboard for the camera, and it tells me it's address 31. But I shouldn't have to use another device to get that. And I don't think the Rodecaster Video has that issue. I think it naturally finds it and, gives you full control over it without needing to get the IP address like I've had to do here. So if I take this 192.168.431 and I go into my YOLO and I say PTZ 192 168 431 was it? 31 done. Connecting there. Now I have camera control. Whereas before I didn't, and I could, I could zoom in, I could zoom out, by touching the display. If you look over my shoulder, you can see I'm just touching the display here. And I can zoom in and I could move it slow or fast and everything like that. I can save a preset here. And I've got my presets, you know, saved presets up there. And I can exit that. It's a little cumbersome here, and you know, every device does it a little bit differently, but you know, being able to have that capability, I think should automatically come once you connect the device. And as for the Rodecaster, your Rodecaster question, I use a Rodecaster video, and once only it worked with the ZowieTek camera. If the ZowieTek is coming in over NDI, and make sure certain devices you can turn NDI on and off. You know, like I have Mevo Starts. Mevo Starts can do NDI. It's built in, always been included, but it's not always on. So if it's been turned off because I wanted to do RTMP or SRT or stream directly from the device itself, and NDI is off, the next time I plug it in, turn it on and plug it into my network, or just turn it on and it connects wirelessly to my network, it's not going to show up because NDI on the camera is off. So that's another thing to consider as well. Did I miss the companion module connection to the YOLO Extreme here? You did not. I skipped over it. Just because I do have an Elgato Stream Deck, but I am of the mind that yes, you can do it, and I do see the usefulness of it. But, you know, as is, let's go back, let's close this. Close this. The companion support requires a computer running companion to be attached to the network. So you need your Extreme, and then you need a computer, and then you need these devices to be running, you know, to do all the connections all the way through. Very powerful. Yes, I give it that. And you can then connect multiple Stream Decks to the computer, so you can have one dedicated for graphics, one dedicated for cameras, one dedicated for replay, one dedicated for scoreboard. That's, yes, okay, great. But I also see it as very, very cumbersome, and it's not something that I do enough to be deeply familiar with it. I've always just connected my Stream Deck to my computer, and I'll control vMix on my computer. I'm not using Companion to talk to vMix, because I can talk directly to vMix. And in terms of companion support, I'm pretty sure most all of the capabilities that you're going to be able to access on the YoloBox are going to be accessible via the YoloDeck as well. Because I don't feel that they're going to make a certain capability available only via the Elgato Stream Deck and not make it available via their very own keypad. Now, I will also admit that the Elgato Stream Decks are better control surfaces than the YoloDeck. The YoloDeck's cheaper. I mean, they're kind of the same in purpose, but the buttons here, although they are soft buttons, the buttons on the YoloDeck are not as exactly as responsive. They're like 80% of the way there. And then some of the new control surfaces offer different buttons as well. So like the buttons, the one rack U thing. So there is reason for that. It's not something that I've covered because it's not something I am in-depthly knowledgeable about to be able to convey it to you, because I don't use Companion enough to be able to tell you everything in Companion, because it's very deep and very powerful in and of itself, on top of all of the other things that I talk about. So you didn't miss it. I sort of just glossed over it and said, look, it's there. Brian Sim says, hey, Anthony. Hey, Brian. Sharif Funkology. I noticed the YoloBox Extreme IP address no longer static after the latest update and keeps changing unless a manual IP assignment is configured. No longer static. I know people had asked for it, for the ability to be able to manually set it, but I don't think it's, you know, because my address has been 4.1 this entire show. It has not changed. Now, if you go into, if I exit the show, and for all the people watching the secondary show where I was doing the maps. I'm going to now terminate the secondary show so that I can go into the settings on the YoloBox Extreme for my primary show. So thank you for watching. I am now going to come over here, end the show, wait for that to settle. Waiting for that to settle. See the little, it's thinking, it's thinking, it's still thinking. Okay, record, all done. Yay. Now we're going to exit the show. Please end it first. I did. I did. I don't know what it's waiting for. My show's done. You are recording or streaming and are unable to exit this live event. I am not recording. Oh, wait, am I still recording? Interesting. I thought the recording would end when I ended the stream because it enabled the record when I enabled the stream. I kind of thought they were both tied. Learn something new every day. Yes. And the process. And once you exit the live stream event, this event is done. The in-show test stream is now done. It's ended. It's not a live event. I can go in and resume or something like that. So that's done. But we're talking about IP addresses. So we're going to go up here to the connections, Ethernet, and your IP address. I'm using DHCP, or I can set it manually. So that, oh, sorry, standing over top of it. My bad. So I'm using over there, I just went into my connections and then I went into Ethernet, and you can see over there, I still got 4.1, and then I could configure using DHCP, and that's where I can set it manually, but I do not see the Extreme changing its IP address the entire time that I've been using it, including yesterday's setup. It has always been 4.1 the entire time. So if you're seeing something different, I would do a firmware reset just to make sure everything is cleared out from the update, and then go back into the show. So that's, and that's fairly standard at this point. You do a firmware update and then you do a reset of the device so that it clears out any of the preference settings that might still be referring to things the way they used to work, not the way they work now. All right. Well, I thank you all for being here. Once again, let me just remind you, if you are interested in doing a show like this on your own, you can use Restream like I do and have been doing the whole time. So all the comments are coming in via Restream. This cool graphic is coming in from Restream. The little animation, timed it right, is created by Restream. I can bring in remote guests. I have a whole studio. And if you've ever seen my bird dog shows, the bird dog shows are run entirely in Restream in the cloud. So I can actually run the show from anywhere. And that way, the pre-show music, the countdown, the sides, the remote guests, the side-by-sides, the picture-in-picture, the presentations, the viewer questions, the giveaway at the end, and the closing music is all done in Restream for those shows. The entire thing is run in Restream. So if I use it and I believe in it, you can check it out as well. If it's something, I even bring in multiple cameras right into Restream. So you still have the computer to run them on, but Restream is the app that would actually be doing all of the switching and everything for you. So you can bring in, I think, 3 cameras. I have an HD plan, so I'm able to do 1080p. They have multiple different plans, including a free plan. So if you wanted to try it out, you can sign up, follow my link, sign up, check it out with the free plan, see if it works for you, see if it helps, see if it, one of the 30 different streaming destinations might be something you want to do. I'm going to Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube, and 2 Facebooks, both my personal page and both my personal wall and the StreamTek page. So you can go to multiple destinations within Facebook, multiple destinations within YouTube, all within that capability. So that is Restream in kind of a nutshell. And you can like put it over there and I can put it over here, and it's all pretty seamless. And I have been bringing up all of your comments like this one. Zoop, animated comments. Thank you for a great show, custom colors and everything. That's all done in Restream as well. So you're very welcome for a great show. Thank you all for sticking in if you stuck around to the end. I'm going to use a different device and click this button, and that's going to bring up my animated title. That's an animated title. I am Anthony Brokers, the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek, and as always, I say thanks for watching.